What's going on, everybody? It's Derek here again, back with Dog Media and our fantasy football version of this podcast. We're going to go over the rest of the games for Sunday, September 24th for week 3. We left off yesterday talking about the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Chargers with a huge over-under in my fantasy game of the week. But first, we're going to get into a little bit of news. Some people that practiced ruled out, some things changed from yesterday. First and foremost, we have Anthony Richardson. He didn't practice all week. He is out officially. DeAndre Hopkins did not practice on Friday. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look like he's going to play Sunday. So just keep an eye on that. He is officially questionable, though. Zay Jones was ruled out. Jalen Waddle was a limited participant yesterday in practice. On Friday, he's looking to play, but just be ready to pivot or be ready to bench him and pick someone else up to throw him on your IR spot for this week. Just something to monitor. Justice Hill is officially out. That means Gus Edwards is going to get the bulk of the carries alongside Lamar Jackson, of course. But this week, Gus Edwards is a solidified running back one. Lock him in your lineup. Odell Beckham Jr. is officially out. Upgrade Rashad Bateman, but really upgrade Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews. Austin Eckler is officially out. Aaron Jones was a limited participant Thursday. No news on Friday's practice, but it looks like he's trending in the direction of playing, possibly on a snap count, but he should suit up. Puka was a limited practice participant. He was able to practice yesterday on Friday. Joe Burrow is officially listed as questionable for Monday night. We talked about this a little bit earlier, and we'll talk about it more. Be ready to pick up a streamer such as CJ Stroud or Mac Jones this week if Burrow happens to not play. With it being a Monday night game, it's going to be a little bit tougher, but just monitor that going into the early games and afternoon games tomorrow. If you feel uncomfortable, CJ Stroud is still a great start this week, even if Burrow does play. If you feel like he may not, or you're questioning yourself, just go ahead and pick up CJ Stroud and start him this week for Joe Burrow. Now, getting into the rest of our games, we'll run through these a little bit quickly. Then we'll get into my DFS picks and my starts of the week. Tennessee Titans travel to Cleveland to take on the Cleveland Browns. Over under is 39.5, with the Browns being 3.5 point home favorites. The Tennessee Titans are really good against the run. Of course, Jerome Ford is going to step in and probably get all of the carries this week while Kareem Hunt acclimates, or reacclimates, I should say, to the Browns playbook and offense. I don't think Jerome Ford is going to have a huge week. The Tennessee Titans, like I said, are really good against the run, but he should still get enough volume to where he's fantasy viable for this week. And then going forward, we'll monitor that situation with him and Kareem Hunt. Amari Cooper, if he plays, you start him. Elijah Moore, he got a lot of targets and looks last week. The chemistry is not there with Deshaun Watson just yet. So he's still on the bench for me. Even in deeper leagues, I think there's better options, but he's still a wait and see. I wouldn't drop him just yet. David Njoku, I, I was saying this before the season even started. No tight end is viable with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. He just doesn't use the tight end. But that's David Njoku is not someone that I'm excited to start. He's super talented. It's like a Kyle Pitts situation where you want him to be locked in your lineup, and dropping him seems crazy, but if there's better options available for you on your waivers, I would drop David Njoku. On the Titans side of the ball, Derrick Henry, of course, gonna get all of the carries. But look at Tyjae Spears. He's working his way into a pretty good role in that offense. I think over the course of the season, as you know, Derrick Henry ages and his regression is gonna start to set in. Tyjae Spears is gonna be a great pick. And if you're in a dynasty league and he's on your waiver wire somehow, pick him up now. DeAndre Hopkins doesn't look, like I said earlier, doesn't look like he's going to play this weekend. So Traylon Burks should be a pretty good fantasy play for the Tennessee Titans, along with Chig Okonkwo. Chig Okonkwo is boomer bust every week. He has the ability to break off long touchdowns, again, similar to Kyle Pitts and David Njoku. The New Orleans Saints traveled to Wisconsin to take on the Green Bay Packers. Over under is 42.5, with the Packers being 1.5 point home favorites. Packers defense is someone that I'm looking to probably start this week. Derek Carr continues to struggle with this offense, continues to struggle in the red zone. The Green Bay Packers are a pretty good streaming defense option. It's not my favorite, but it's a viable fantasy stream this week if you need one and there's not any available. Jordan Love is locked in your lineup. I hope you're able to pick him up on your waiver. If he is available on your waiver, this is another guy who's stream worthy if Joe Burrow is questionable or doesn't seem to be like he's going to play. Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon situation. Aaron Jones it did log a limited practice, so he probably will most likely suit up. I expect him to be on a pitch count though, so just be on the lookout for that. I'm not comfortable starting AJ Dillon if Aaron Jones does play either way. Christian Watson is looking to make a return this week. That means downgrade Jaden Reed. I think it's going to be a Christian Watson, Luke Musgrave offense with Romeo Dobbs getting touchdowns. The Carolina Panthers traveled to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. The Seahawks are 6 point home favorites. The over under is 42 and a half. Bryce Young is not playing this week. He is out. It's going to be Andy Dalton show, so I'm not really excited about any of the pass catchers. He is a veteran quarterback. I expect him to target Adam Thielen a lot. But with a matchup against this defense is not something that I'm really interested in from any of the Carolina players except Miles Sanders. Of course, you have Kenneth Walker. You're not starting Zach Charbonnet just yet. Kenneth Walker is the guy in that backfield currently. All three wide receivers, you're starting them: JSN, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf, and you're starting Geno Smith. The Dallas Cowboys travel to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. The over-under is 43 points, with the Cowboys being 12.5 point road favorites. Lock in the Dallas Cowboys defense. I'm not starting them in DFS though, just because they're going to be outrageously expensive. Arizona side of the ball, man, they're going to be passing the game. They're going to be passing all game. Start Hollywood Brown, start Zach Ertz, and start James Conner. That's it. Nobody else. Dallas Cowboys lock in all of their offensive weapons except Michael Gallup. He's not fantasy relevant just yet. Upgrade Tony Pollard. It looks like it's going to be a running game for them. They're going to be ahead early, and it's going to be a drain the clock the entire second half type of game. The Chicago Bears travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. The over under is 48. The Chiefs are 12.5 point home favorites. Justin Fields hasn't looked very good so far this season. It looks like there's starting to be a blame game going on. It's because of the coaching. It's because Justin Fields hasn't taken that step. It's the O line. It's a defensive coordinator. Whatever the case is, he has struggled. But yet his rushing volume is still making him a very decent fantasy quarterback start this week. The Kansas City Chiefs defense is my defensive lock for the week. I'm starting them at defense. Again, not in DFS because they're expensive, but if you had the ability to pick them up on the waiver wire this week, Kansas City is a good defensive start this week and next week as well. So that was a decent pickup on the waiver. You get a defensive stream for 2 weeks versus one. DJ Moore, they're going to be down and they're going to be passing. So Justin Fields is probably going to run a lot. He's going to throw a lot. Check down to Khalil Herbert. It looks like Roshan Johnson is beginning his takeover. Roshan is going to be the lead back by the end of the year. That is a given. He looks better. He looks more explosive. I think he's a better pass catcher than Khalil Herbert, especially as a Texas fan. I love Roshan. Cole Kmet, he's probably going to get a lot of targets this week, especially in the red zone, hopefully. DJ Moore, uh, not Chase Claypool. He's awful. On the Chiefs side of the ball, of course, Travis Kelsey, Patrick Mahomes, and Isaiah Pacheco. Be wary and looking out for an increase in volume for Rashee Rice. I do think he's going to emerge as the wide receiver number one over Tony. It's just a matter of time. So keep and monitor that situation. And our Sunday night game is the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. The over-under is 43 points. Raiders are 2.5 point home favorites. Steelers look decent last week against the Browns. Um, Pickett is still not a very good quarterback. Kenny Pickett is going to do Kenny Pickett things. George Pickens is locked in your lineup. Pat Fryermuth, hopefully he gets more involved. their best target right now outside of George Pickens. I think he needs to be way more involved than he was last week. That was atrocious that he was not. They're doing a disservice to his talent. It's like all the other tight ends in the league outside of Andrews and Kelsey, they're just not getting them the ball. And these guys are difference makers. Kyle Pitts, Njoku, Pat Fryermuth, Goddard, these guys who have not seen the ball much this year are difference makers for their team. They all need an increase in value and from their respective teams, not just in fantasy. But look for them to turn it around. Fryermuth should get into the end zone this week. Najee, try to trade Najee. He looks awful. He looks slow, not explosive, averaging 1.5, 2 yards per carry. He's just not a running back I want on my team. Look to trade him. If you can't trade him, look to bench him. Hopefully, you picked up Jalen Warren and handcuffed him because Jalen Warren is going to take over that backfield sooner rather than later. The Philadelphia Eagles travel to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. Over under is 46 on Monday Night Football. This is a Monday Night Football doubleheader. The Eagles are 5.5 point road favorites. The Eagles have been gashed through the air. Both games this season, our secondary is really banged up. Tampa Bay has thrown the ball really well all season. So look for Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both to have really big days. I'm not comfortable starting the Eagles defense in this game. They'll bottle up the run. It's kind of like how we played last year. They're going to stop the run at all costs, but they're going to give up a lot of yards passing. So downgrade Rashad White, Sean Tucker both. I do think Sean Tucker is still a viable bench hold for right now. It's still early, but he just looks better, man. I think he's a way better running back than Rashad White, and I just think it's a matter of time before he takes over. And barring any injury, of course, if Rashad White gets injured, Sean Tucker is immediately a running back one in your lineup. Eagles side of the ball, their offense has looked really bad to start the year. They've been kept in it by their defense. It's going to progressively get better. Last week we got back to our game plan and giving the ball to our running back and setting the tone that way. Passing game just wasn't there, especially against Brian Flores when he loves to run a zone blitz pretty much every play scheme. You're not going to get the ball out to these great wide receivers as quick as you would like. Yes, Devontae Smith took advantage of the defense when they did run man. We were able to hit him on a deep touchdown. But AJ Brown is not the type of wide receiver that's going to dominate in a against a zone defense. That's Devontae Smith. Now, the Buccaneers are more of a man. Uh, they run more of a man secondary. So AJ Brown, look for him to have a bounce back, get right game in this game. I think it is a soft defense, and I think our wide receivers can exploit them really well this week. Well, it'll be interesting to see the dynamic between Kenneth Gainwell and DeAndre Swift, who's getting more touches. I have been preaching all off season that DeAndre Swift is the better, most talented running back we have in that backfield. And they took advantage of it last week. When you give him a good O line, you see what he can do. So I think that's what the Eagles need to get back to doing. Run, pass. That's what won us a Super Bowl. That's what got us to the Super Bowl last year. That's what's going to get us back. So it'll be interesting to see how they utilize both of those running backs this week. Rashad Penny, don't touch him. And our last matchup is the LA Rams traveling to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. This is a over under 43.5 with the Bengals being 3-point home favorites. Now, this can change if Joe Burrow is ruled out. So, if I were y'all, I'm not giving you betting advice. I'm saying what I would do. I would put, if I'm betting the money line, I'm betting my money on the Rams. They have looked really good in their first two games this season. They looked really good last week against a very good 49ers team. I think the Rams are in contention for their division this year outside of the 49ers. So look for them to come in and probably put a whooping on the Bengals if I'm being honest. If Joe Burrow is out, and even if he plays, he's not going to be 100%, right? Again, Burrow, monitor his situation. If he's out, Jamar Chase is such a great wide receiver that he's going to get his, is what I like to call it. He's going to get his regardless. Doesn't matter if you put Joe Burrow or whoever they're going to pick up for backup in, he's going to get his eventually. He's not going to finish as a wide receiver 41 on the year. That's just not going to happen. Same with T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, all of their offensive weapons. The LA Rams on the other side of the ball, Kyron Williams locked in. Now he has nobody competing with him even for the backfield. He's going to play all of the snaps and get all of the running back touches available. Puka Nakua, if he plays, he's locked in your lineup. The dude is a beast. Tutu Atwell is the only other wide receiver I'm looking to start. Downgrade Van Jefferson, drop him even. All right, now we're going to look into some streams this week. Some people that can come in and fill some holes in your lineup. If DeAndre Hopkins is out, just looking at my waiver wire right here, some people that are available in my league that I'm interested in starting. Calvin Austin is a good. This is a 12-team league, by the way. Calvin Austin is someone that's a pretty decent fill in for DeAndre Hopkins if he happens to miss time. These, of course, you may have someone better on your bench. These are just some waiver wire targets if you don't have anyone available. Allen and Lazard. Allen Lazard is available. Not really, don't really care. Again, don't look at the projected points. Those don't tell the whole story. Look at availability, who the quarterback is, the matchup, things of that nature. Jonathan Mingo is available right here. He's someone that I would definitely start if DeAndre Hopkins is out, if you need to. Some running back options if you do happen to miss, or Aaron Jones does happen to miss some time, or you don't have a replacement for Austin Eckler. Samaje Perine is available here. He's a decent play. Kendre Miller, and that's really it. Running backs are very hard to come by in this league. So just some names, Samaje Perine, Kendre Miller, Latavius Murray. Maybe he did get the goal line work last week, so that should be an interesting shakeout as well. And for quarterback, these are some of my favorite. If Joe Burrow misses time, if you had Anthony Richardson, he's out. Pick up, as I've been preaching, CJ Stroud. He's my number one stream this week. He's my stream of the week. I think he has a perfect situation against Jacksonville to where he can go in and put up some really big points. Mac Jones against the Jets. I know it's the Jets, but he has been efficient. He has a really good target in Hunter Henry. He may turn the ball over, but again, this is just a stream this week. I think Mac Jones is very viable. And if you really need to, my third option, my last option, if those two guys are taken, is Jimmy Garoppolo against a very beatable Pittsburgh defense. I think he has the targets to get the job done and have a decent fantasy outing. For tight end, Luke Musgrave and Hayden Hurst are some good targets that I'm looking at. Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is a sleeper candidate and probably my favorite tight end stream this week. He's going to be getting running back work. He's a gadget player. With Jamal Williams likely being out, it's going to be Kendre Miller, Tony Jones Jr., and Taysom Hill is going to get Wildcat carries as well. So look, he'll probably get into the end zone and give you a decent week at tight end for this week. And he is widely available. So look into him if you need a tight end. Defensively, my favorite stream this week is the Kansas City Chiefs defense. But if they aren't available because they are widely rostered for this week, I like the Green Bay Packers defense, as I talked about a little bit earlier against the Saints. I think it will get enough pressure on the quarterback and cause a couple interceptions. And I like the Raiders defense against Pittsburgh. I think Kenny Pickett is turnover prone, and I think that the Raiders defense has enough talent to have a decent fantasy outing as well. And my start of the week for week 3 is going to be, looking at it right here on my notes, none other than Zay Flowers, the wide receiver for Baltimore, with Odell being out, Justice Hill being out. I think it's going to be the Zay Flowers show. I think this is his breakout game for Baltimore, going against a very, very, very beatable Indianapolis Colts defense, who just saw a rookie CJ Stroud throw for almost 400 yards. I think Lamar absolutely dismantles his defense, and I think Zay Flowers is a big part of that process. Put him in your DFS, put him in your lineup, and lock him in. All right, and now for my DFS picks of the week. I give y'all a running back, a quarterback, a wide receiver, a tight end, flex, and a defense, and it's up to you to fill the rest of your roster out. But these are some of my favorite DFS picks this week, some ones that I'm locking into my DFS lineups. At quarterback, we got Russell Wilson coming in at 5,900, going up against a very beatable Miami Dolphins secondary that saw Mac Jones have a really good fantasy day. A secondary that saw Justin Herbert have a really good fantasy day. I think Russell Wilson has the tools around him to be successful in this matchup. At running back, Brian Robinson Jr. at 5,800. He is the dominant running back. Actually, at running back, I have Zach Moss, running back for the Indianapolis Colts. He's going to get all of the work, especially with Anthony Richardson being out. The rushing volume for Zach Moss just increases even more. His value is 5,500. No cheaper running back to put in than him, who's going to be the running back number one. At wide receiver, I have Nico Collins, the wide receiver for the Houston Texans. He's going to get all of the targets, been getting all of the targets. It looks to be CJ Stroud's favorite target the past few weeks. I think that continues this week against a very beatable Jacksonville Jaguars defense. At tight end, I talked about him a little bit earlier. Taysom Hill at 3,300. I think his volatility that he brings to your lineup is going to be great. He has the ability to have rushes, to have catches, and to have passing touchdowns because of how they utilize him in their offense. My flex play is my start of the week, Zay Flowers at 5,400. That's disrespectful to him because he is the wide receiver number one for them this week against a very beatable, like I said, Indianapolis Colts defense. He's going to score. He's going to get a lot of targets. He's going to get a lot of yards. And my defensive or DFS start of the week is the Buffalo Bills. They are a great team. I think they will be the best defense on the week against a Washington Commanders offense. The Buffalo Bills have a really, really good, talented defense, and they are going to be viable and very cheap for DFS. Hopefully that helps y'all out. Hopefully y'all win y'all's leagues. I hope to see y'all again Monday on our waiver show. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be healthy. And that's all I got for y'all today. Have a good weekend. See y'all next time.